Have you ever wondered what separates an extraordinary success from a forgotten tragedy? Imagine a story: two close friends in Seattle in the 1970s. Both were mathematical prodigies. Both were obsessed with computers at a time when computers were the size of refrigerators and accessible to only a handful of people. They spent thousands of hours together, learning, dreaming, and quietly hacking the future. One of them was Bill Gates. We all know how that story ends. The other was his close friend, Kent Evans. He was described as just as brilliant, perhaps even more skilled in certain areas. But before he could even graduate high school, his fate was sealed by a mountaineering accident. He never lived to see the computer revolution he helped lay the groundwork for. So what separated their destinies? Intelligence? Work ethic? Ambition? Perhaps. But there were two other forces at play, two forces we often ignore because they are invisible. In The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel confronts us with an uncomfortable truth. Financial outcomes are not determined solely by intelligence and effort. They are shaped by two inseparable siblings: luck and risk. The story of Bill Gates is a story of extraordinary luck. Born at the right time, into the right family, and enrolled in one of the only high schools on Earth with access to a computer. A chain of low-probability events that created an immense advantage. But on the other side of the same coin is the story of Kent Evans. A story of risk, another low-probability event, but with a tragic outcome. He was a victim of the same cosmic dice that rewarded his friend. Acknowledging this reality is not meant to make us pessimistic. It is not a claim that effort is meaningless. Not at all. It is meant to plant a seed of humility, to remind us that not all success is purely the result of genius, and not all failure is purely the result of laziness. There are random variables far beyond our control. If external forces like luck and risk play such a powerful role, what about the forces inside us? What about the decisions we make? Why are some people willing to invest their entire savings into volatile crypto assets, while others are afraid to touch stocks at all and choose to hide cash under a mattress? Why do some people buy lottery tickets every week despite the near-zero odds of winning? Is one of them irrational? Morgan Housel's answer is simple and quietly revolutionary. No one is crazy. Every financial decision we make, no matter how reckless or conservative it looks to others, feels completely rational to the person making it. Why? Because we all see the world through lenses shaped by our unique personal experiences. Imagine being born in the middle of a financial crisis, growing up watching your parents' savings disappear, feeling anxiety at the dinner table every night. For you, money becomes a source of instability. The stock market feels like a casino designed to swallow you whole. So keeping cash somewhere safe becomes the most logical decision imaginable. Now reverse the story. Imagine growing up during an economic boom, watching neighbors and relatives suddenly become wealthy through technology stocks. Success stories everywhere you look. For you, the greatest risk is not losing money, but missing the opportunity to make it. So aggressive investing becomes the most logical decision in the world. These two people, seeing reality through different lenses, will make choices that seem insane to each other. Yet both are acting rationally within the version of reality they know. Our personal experiences with money shape roughly 80% of how we think about it. Textbook knowledge might account for only 20%. And this is the first and most fundamental foundation of the psychology of money. Before we talk about investing, saving, or becoming wealthy, we must accept two truths. First, acknowledge the role of luck and risk in our lives and in the lives of others. This gives us humility in success and compassion when others fail. Second, understand that how we and others view money is shaped by life histories we never got to choose. No one is irrational. Everyone is simply trying to survive with the map of the world they carry in their head. This is the foundation. Because when it comes to money, we are not dealing with numbers on paper. We are dealing with fate, opportunity, and most importantly, the stories we constantly whisper to ourselves. There is a tragic story that has haunted Wall Street for nearly a century. the story of a legendary stock trader named Jesse Livermore. In the early 20th century, he was a god of the market. He correctly predicted the market crashes of 1907 and 1929, amassing a fortune equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars today. He had everything: yachts, luxury apartments, a lifestyle most people could only dream of. But Livermore's story did not end at the top. He lost all of his wealth. Again and again, the same extraordinary boldness, the same willingness to take massive risks that made him rich, also became the engine of his destruction. He died by suicide, bankrupt and buried in debt. Livermore's story and the stories of lottery winners who go broke within a few years raise an uncomfortable question. If they were so good at making money, why were they so bad at keeping it? This is where Morgan Housel delivers one of the most crucial lessons in the psychology of money. Getting rich and staying rich are two completely different skills. There is a deep irony in finance, the traits that often take you to the top. Extreme optimism, a high tolerance for risk, and the courage to put yourself out there can become a recipe for disaster if they are not replaced by a new set of skills. Let's break this down. To get rich, you usually need optimism. You have to believe the future will be better than today. You need the confidence to invest. You must be willing to take calculated risks, because without risk, there is no meaningful reward. You have to stay open to opportunity, even opportunities that seem improbable. This is an offensive game, but staying rich is a completely different game. Suddenly, it's no longer about growth, it's about survival. The required skills flip 180 degrees. You no longer just need optimism, you need a little paranoia. You must recognize that everything you've built can disappear in an instant. Because of the same force discussed earlier, risk. Luck can make you rich, but risk can make you poor again just as fast. Survival is the most underestimated financial strategy. Morgan Housel emphasizes that survival should be the foundation of every financial plan. What's the point of earning 20% per year if the following year you lose 100% of your capital? There is none. The magic of compounding only works if your money is given time to grow. And the only way to give it time is to stay in the game. So how do we do that? How do we survive the chaos of life and markets? The answer lies in one beautifully simple idea: margin of safety. Imagine an engineer designing a bridge. If calculations show the bridge can support 10 tons, would they build it to hold exactly 10 tons? Of course not. They would build it to support 20, maybe 30 tons. Why? Because they know the future is uncertain. Earthquakes, storms, imperfect materials, or trucks carrying more weight than expected. The gap between calculated limits and actual strength is the margin of safety. In personal finance, this concept is your seatbelt. Margin of safety means having an emergency fund so you don't have to sell investments during a market crash just to fix your car. It means avoiding suffocating consumer debt, so rising interest rates don't destroy your cash flow. It means diversification, so the collapse of one asset doesn't drag your entire portfolio down with it. Ultimately, this lesson is about humility. Getting rich often requires confidence, but staying rich requires accepting that you don't know what will happen next. It's a shift from saying, "I know I can earn big returns," to saying, "I know I could be wiped out, so I will make sure I never am." Getting rich is a sprint. Staying rich is a marathon. It's not about who moves fastest for a moment, but who is never forced off the track before the real finish line. And for that, you don't need speed. You need endurance. Let's talk about Warren Buffett, but not in the usual way. Forget his stock-picking strategies for a moment. Forget the famous quotes. Instead, focus on a single number, one statistic so striking that it can permanently change how you think about wealth. Warren Buffett's net worth today exceeds $100 billion. Roughly 95% of that wealth, let me repeat, 95%, was accumulated after his 65th birthday. Pause and think about that. Did he suddenly become a much smarter investor late in life? Did he discover a secret formula in old age? The answer is no. The real explanation is far more powerful and far less visible. It is something Albert Einstein once described as the eighth wonder of the world. The most effective financial time machine ever created: compounding. This principle hides in plain sight, yet the human brain is not wired to understand it intuitively. We are comfortable with linear thinking. Save a little today, get a little more tomorrow. 1,000 a day becomes 100,000 in 100 days. Simple, predictable, reassuring. But compounding does not work that way. It grows exponentially. A better analogy is a snowball rolling downhill. At first, it is small and moves slowly. You push it for days, even weeks, and the progress feels almost invisible. It is easy to get tired, easy to lose patience. But once the snowball passes a certain threshold, everything changes. Snow begins to accumulate on top of snow. Growth accelerates, and suddenly the same force that once felt insignificant becomes overwhelming. That is what happened to Buffett's wealth. Yes, he is an exceptional investor, but his true advantage, his real edge, was not brilliance. It was time. He began investing seriously around the age of 10. He never tried to get rich quickly. He focused on staying in the game, day after day, decade after decade, allowing compounding to do its work without interruption. This leads to one of Morgan Housel's most important lessons about wealth. In the pursuit of financial success, the goal is not to achieve the highest possible returns. The highest returns are often unstable, difficult to repeat, and require excessive risk. The real goal is to earn returns that are good enough and sustainable for the longest possible period of time. Time is the most powerful variable in this equation. But this raises a natural question. Do all of our investments need to succeed for compounding to work? Do we need to be right all the time? Fortunately, no. This is where Housel introduces a second, deeply liberating idea: tail events. Imagine an art collector who buys 100 paintings over a lifetime. 90 of them go nowhere. Their value stagnates or even declines. 9 appreciate modestly, just enough to break even. But one painting, created by an artist who later becomes famous, explodes in value 1,000 times over. That single outcome does more than compensate for the other 99. It becomes the primary source of the portfolio's success. This pattern appears everywhere. Walt Disney produced hundreds of animated films before Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs transformed the company in 1937. Amazon experimented for years, but much of its long-term profitability was driven by the extraordinary success of Amazon Web Services. The lesson is simple and freeing. You do not need to be right all the time. Most returns often come from a small number of exceptional outcomes. Your job is not to predict winners perfectly. That is impossible. Your job is to build a diversified portfolio and give it enough time for a few winners to emerge. This brings us to the 2 pillars of long-term wealth. First, the power of time through compounding. It teaches patience. True wealth is built through long-term consistency, not short bursts of brilliance. Second, the power of extreme outcomes through tail events. It teaches acceptance. Being wrong occasionally is not a failure, as long as you stay in the game long enough to be right in a meaningful way. In the end, building wealth is not about dramatic, heroic actions taken in panic. It is closer to planting a tree. You choose good seeds. You place them in fertile soil. You provide water, sunlight, and care. And then, most importantly, you give them time to grow. Have you ever been on the road when a luxury sports car passes right beside you? A red Ferrari, a yellow Lamborghini, a polished Porsche. What goes through your mind in that moment? Most likely you think, wow, that car looks incredible. I wish I were the one driving it. Now let's be honest with ourselves. Do you really think, wow, the person inside that car must be amazing? Do you assume they are especially smart, hardworking, exceptional? Probably not. This is what Morgan Housel calls the paradox of the man in the car. We buy expensive things, luxury cars, complex watches, designer clothes, because we instinctively believe they send a signal to the world, a signal that we are smart, that we matter, that we are admired, that we are loved, we want respect, we want admiration. But the paradox is that other people often don't see it that way. When they see your visible wealth, they don't necessarily admire you. Instead, they use your possessions as a benchmark for their own desires. The admiration you are trying to buy is a mirage. You think you have it, but it never truly arrives. So why do we keep doing this? Why is the urge to show off so powerful, even among very intelligent people? The answer is that we are trapped in a dangerous game, a kind of financial mental illness often described as never enough. It's a poison that creeps in when the finish line keeps moving forward every time we get close to it. It is a happiness-destroying machine because satisfaction is always one step ahead. And there may be no more tragic example of this than the story of Rajat Gupta. Gupta was an orphaned immigrant from India who climbed to the very top of the corporate world. He became the CEO of McKinsey & Company, one of the most prestigious consulting firms on earth. He sat on the boards of Goldman Sachs and Procter & Gamble. By 2008, his net worth was around $100 million. By almost any definition, he had won the game of life, but it wasn't enough. He spent time around billionaires, and next to them, $100 million felt small. He wanted to be like them. The desire to move into the next echelon, to prove that he belonged, pushed him to do the unthinkable. He leaked confidential Goldman Sachs board information in an insider trading scheme. He was caught. He was convicted. He went to prison. He lost everything: his reputation, his freedom, and his wealth. Gupta's story is a brutal lesson in how social comparison is a battle that cannot be won. There is always a bigger fish in the sea. If you measure your wealth relative to other people, you will never feel like you have enough. So how do we escape this trap? How do we shut down this endless comparison machine? Morgan Housel offers a fundamental distinction, a shift in perspective that can save us. The difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is often about your current income. It is visible, a high salary that allows you to buy an expensive car, a large house, and luxury vacations. Being rich often means spending money to show other people that you have money. It is a loud, exhausting game of display. Being wealthy, on the other hand, is invisible. It is the income you don't spend. True wealth is the money you have saved and invested, the financial assets working for you while you sleep. Wealth is the car you didn't buy, the watch you didn't wear, the business class upgrade you skipped so your money could keep compounding. Wealth is not the car itself. Wealth is the financial freedom to buy that car tomorrow, or next year, or not at all, because you no longer need validation from anyone. This is the social trap. Chasing the appearance of being rich often prevents you from becoming truly wealthy. Every unit of money spent on showing off is money that cannot work to buy the most valuable asset of all: your freedom. Freedom to control your time. Freedom from anxiety. True wealth is quiet. It is peace of mind. And it is something you will never be able to see from the outside, no matter how luxurious the car passing by on the road may be. We've unpacked the role of chance and unseen risk. We've explored the crucial difference between getting rich and staying rich. We've seen how time can quietly multiply outcomes and how comparison with others is a game no one truly wins. After all of that, we arrive at the most basic question: what is this all for? Why do we save? Why do we invest? Why do we resist the pull of constant consumption? Is the end goal really just a larger number on a screen? A growing pile of possessions? In the final and most powerful sections of his work, Morgan Housel offers an answer that is both simple and profound. The greatest benefit money can provide is not luxury. Not cars, not houses, not watches. The highest dividend money can pay is a single idea: control. Control over your time. That is the most valuable currency in the world. The ability to wake up and say, "Today I can choose what I do," is the highest form of wealth a person can reach. This is not about laziness. It is about choice. Control means you are not trapped in work you hate simply because next month's bills are waiting. It means you can step away for a period of time to care for someone you love without financial panic. It means unexpected expenses are inconveniences, not catastrophes. Control is having enough financial distance that problems do not immediately become emergencies. It is owning assets you don't need to touch, giving you the patience to wait for the right opportunity. In your career and in your life, instead of grabbing the first option out of desperation. This is where the idea of margin for error returns with a new purpose. Emergency funds, low debt, and diversification are not just defensive tools for survival. They are offensive tools for freedom. Every unit of money set aside as flexibility is a small purchase of future independence. You are trading consumption today for control tomorrow. So if control and peace of mind are the goal, how do we pursue them in daily life? This is where Housel introduces his most liberating philosophy. Aim to be reasonable, not perfectly rational. Being rational means chasing mathematical precision, complex spreadsheets, optimizing every variable, making cold decisions based purely on data. The problem is, we are not machines. We are emotional, fearful, and imperfect. Strategies that are theoretically optimal are often impossible to maintain over decades. Being reasonable means accepting your humanity. It means choosing a financial approach that may be imperfect on paper, but one you can live with calmly. A strategy that lets you sleep at night. Maybe you don't invest every dollar in stocks, even if history suggests you should, because holding some cash gives you emotional stability when markets turn violent. That isn't irrational, it's reasonable. This is why the psychology matters more than the math. The Psychology of Money is not a book about numbers, it's a book about behavior. Its core lesson is not how to earn the highest return, but how to build a healthy relationship with fear and greed. It's not about being the smartest person in the room, but about being the one who doesn't self-destruct. True wealth is not measured by what you own, but by how many options you have. Money should be a tool to build the life you want, not the center of that life. Use money to buy control over your time. Because in the end, having the freedom to spend your time with the people you choose, doing what matters to you for as long as you want, that is a form of wealth no price can measure.